In this presentation, I shall be pitching for my final proposal for the 361MC Final Media Production Module. The title for my project is going to be called the Post-it Network. Pitch. To sum up my project idea, I'd best describe it as an experimental stop-motion short film piece aimed at all age groups. Rationale. The main subject that my project will examine will be how an alternative method of communication can develop a friendship into a relationship. The approach I intend to take for this project is to use stop-motion animation with an ambient soundscape to give the piece an experimental feel. I'm going to use post-it notes as the alternative communication tool which the main male and female characters use to get to know each other. I see it being a parody of how people use Facebook and socialising on each other's walls, and also how two people who are sat at arm's length from each other use a tool to communicate. Style-wise, I've looked at videos such as Ian Beck's F-Stop, which uses stop motion to emphasise movement and facial expression. It also uses an ambient soundscape, which I feel is a nice touch to how the narrative evolves instead of actual spoken words being used. I also have taken influence of how relationships are presented in films such as Mark Webb's 500 Days of Summer, and how they have a feel-good element intertwined within the narrative. Context. The questions that my project will answer will be how in this modern day age of communication and the importance of relationships and how we maintain them on social networking sites such as Facebook and Twitter, we can almost lose touch with how to communicate in a more personal way. I believe my project will be presenting a new idea of how communication can be used in a much more personal way. My project fits within the current media environment in the way that narratively it is a response to communication tools such as Facebook, which has become a staple of current films to discover and explore the most popular tool of our everyday lives that has become almost second nature to how we communicate. Examples include The Social Network, which was a major box office smash of last year and grossed over 10 million in the UK. Indie reality thriller Catfish, which is a very raw and clever presentation of how social networking can introduce us to absolute strangers and to be able to forge a relationship. Unreleased within the UK, it grossed over $3 million in the US. Films that are based around this tool of social networking are what have become popular within the film industry, and I believe my project fits in within the current social networking crazy climate. Distribution. As a starting point of distribution, I'm going to upload my piece onto my own personal Facebook to reach and capitalise on the media audience who have seen my previous video and photography work. I shall also post my piece on my Film Crew Pro production profile page to gain a more professional audience of production companies worldwide. I shall also submit my piece into short film festivals, such as a local arts festival in Birmingham called ArtsFest. This will give me the chance to present my piece to the local media within production companies and also to a local audience. I will look into submitting my piece further afield in the Montreal Stop Motion Film Festival, as well as within my own professional showreel that I shall distribute to different production companies nationally and perhaps further afield. Budget. The realistic breakdown of my budget for the project will be broken down into materials such as post-it notes, which are broken down the cost as seen on this slide. These shall be the staple of how my narrative is going to develop over the duration of the piece, so the more the better. I shall also be paying expenses such as travel and food for my two actors taking on the staple lead roles in the piece. I'm aiming for the film to be shot over 4 days, so this will be £20 a day for each of my actors. In total, I will set my budget for the project to be around the £250 mark, which will give me a wide enough space within the budget to pay for any other costs that I may need. Skills audit. I believe that the current skills that I possess with working within stop motion animation and short film gives me the appropriate knowledge and experience to produce my piece to a high standard. I've worked in the medium of stop motion animation, so I believe this will also give me the opportunity to capitalise on my skills to a higher level. The most important skill for producing a stop motion piece is patience. Planned schedule of work. The process of how I'm going to produce my piece will start with the pre-production stage of developing my narrative and storyboarding how I want the piece to look. I found my actors for the piece through my own personal contacts. From this, I shall go into the actual production stage of the project, which will have a starting date of mid-February to give me time to get to know the actors and fit them into the roles appropriately. I'm aiming to film and shoot my piece by mid-March, which will give me enough time to get extra shots if needed. The post-production stage of the project will be me compiling the photos I've taken and arranging them into the correct narrative order and work with the sound and to finally polish the piece. This will be around a week's work of editing and finishing the piece off to the best and the highest possible standard. I shall now give you a preview of the intended shooting style of stop motion that I'm going to use. Conclusion. I feel that my project is very viable, from the subject matter right through to the use of stop motion animation. The subject of communicating or social networking, as it's now widely referred to, is one of the most effective methods of keeping in touch with friends and making new ones along the way. The growth of a friendship can be calculated from how much we socialise with them online. My project will be a slight parody of how personal socialising can be. I intend to present this by using 2 characters, male and female, very generically, to show how the age of socialising has evolved through the use of post-it notes. Entirely using stop-motion animation, I believe this will give the piece a very simplistic and experimental feel. I am very excited to get my production started, following on from the 360 MC module. I believe that my project will be very unique in style and subject matter and be able to influence me to produce more short films in the immediate future.